So I wasn't recording a video, and I was like, you know what, let me make this into a video in case someone else needs to see it. So I did a video a while back about replacing a serpentine belt, so I'm not going to go over how I did this to loosen it or whatever. And it's just the same brand new belt that I recently put on, and is looking pretty good. I'm going to take it off and fully examine it, and if it still looks good, I'm going to reuse it. However, I noticed I had a squeaking noise, so and then the belt was locked up, so, and it was smoking, so some of the pulleys were turning and some of them weren't. I see pressure here where this one was pulling the belt. You can see here where some of the black belt was burnt. The belt was burning off some of the little pieces. It was pulling it, versus this tensioner pulley down there, it got stuck. It was locked up. So I'm taking it off, and I had to loosen it from the bottom this time because the spring in it was broken, so I couldn't loosen it from the top. And this is how you loosen the tensioner pulley once you get the belt off. It's a 13mm bolt, but however, if you have a ratchet, if you can get a socket in there if you move this fan around. But I didn't feel like going to find a mingle with my tools. I just had a wrench. I had a box wrench, 13mm, and it had a slight play in it, so you don't want to use a wrench that has just a tad bit of play. So I went down, instead of using metric, I went to find this half inch. So I went to get this half inch. I'll show you. And it was a tight fit, which is what you want when you are removing bolts and stuff. You don't want anything but play. So I'm gonna get this wrench off. Let me put the phone down and get the wrench off. Okay, so I got the wrench off, and it's a ratcheting wrench, which helps an extended length, so it helps. And while I'm replacing this tensioner pulley, I'm also going to replace over there the idler pulley. I'm just going to go ahead and take it off and replace it. It's got a slight play in it, so I'm going to replace that as well. But it's a 13mm bolt, left to loose, right to tight. And that's pretty much it. You finish loosening it by hand. That's the bolt right there. And I will I'll reuse the same bolt. Yeah, I'll reuse the same bolt. Yeah. So that's the bolt. I might have to put the phone down to get this off as well, which I do. Gotta put this phone down to get this thing off. It is stuck on there, so let me do that. So what I had to do is I just took my breaker bar, because it was really hard for me to pull it off by my hand, and I just put it in front of the alternator and just pry it up a little bit, and it popped straight down. So oh shucks, come on. Woo, woo, woo. And that's it. Woo. That's the tensioner. So when I get ready to put the new one on, I'm gonna put that belt on this side first, because there's a little that space is tight that this goes in. So I'm gonna put that belt on first, and then I'm just gonna fit it back right in the spot. It's got a little groove there that fits right back in the, put that down, that fits right back in that groove, in that can't hardly see it with this thing, but it fits right there, so you can position it properly. That little hole right there, that matches up with that hole right there. So yeah, that's the pulley tensioner. Now I'm going to take off this up here, which is the idler pulley. Yep. And then I'll get my wrench on that one as well. Okay, and got this on, and the bolt, once you loosen it far enough, you'll be able to get it out. What I did was I loosened the bolts here on the back of this fan cover, just on the top too, not the bottom, just so I can have room to like flex this a little bit, because that's what I got to do to get this out. I can actually pass it down here. Yeah, but I can pass it down here, and that is the idler pulley. It's at the top. These wear out. It had a slight play in it, but the wheel it still spun freely. But at the same time, if I gotta do this, it's simple, you know. It was right there, so why not just go ahead and replace it now, and then I'll have that out of the way. I don't have to worry about that wearing out. And I need to do the same thing on my car too, because I got some squeaking. I'm gonna replace the tensioner pulley on the car, and also replace the idler pulley on the car as well. But I'm gonna get this out of my way first. But yeah, that's how you take it off. Left to loose, right to tight. That's the idler pulley at the top. That's the tensioner right there. Okay, another thing I decided to do, this is a radiator pressure test kit that I have. And what I decided to do while I have this stuff off, I haven't even gone and get the new idler pulleys and the tensioner pulley yet. But what I decided to do while I have this stuff off, you can see right there, that's the water pump. Right there. This is the water pump, and it only has 2 bolts, a bolt here and a bolt there. I don't know if you can see it. Right there. That's the bolt there. And I can get to the bolt here without the idler, the tensioner in the way. However, the more room you have, the even better, because those bolts are small and they get so hot. So, but what I decided to do, because my mentor has always told me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you can test it, test it. So I thought, why don't I go inside and get my pressure test kit? And what I've done is I put the pressure test on it. On the normal radiator cap, you see here it says 21 psi. So that's the amount of pressure that you would build it up to. I think it's pound square inch. Of course, while it's cold, you never want to take this off while it's hot. So I took the cap off and I put the correct cap on for this radiator, and I pumped this until I got it up until between 20 21. You see there? And it's still holding the pressure. It hasn't, you know, if it was losing pressure, that means there would be a leak somewhere. And also you can see fluid on the ground. And if there's a slow leak around where this water pump is, I would be able to see it. But I don't see any leaks. And so getting down on the ground, there's nothing on the ground. You see? So that tells me I don't have a coolant leak anywhere. So there's nothing else I'm going to replace other than what the original problem is. And so I'm going to release the pressure here before I remove the cap. You do not want to remove this cap with the pressure, because it can hurt you. So all the pressure's out. Now I will remove the cap. So that's a pressure test as well. Let me go get these parts and things. Oh, people of God, I finally got my part. I got Duralast from AutoZone. And the reason I went with AutoZone, check this out. I'm going to show you something. It's getting a little exhausted, getting a little parched. I went with AutoZone because this is the original piece that I took off. See who it's made by? Right there. This is stock. This came how the manufacturer built it. Original OEM part, right? The dealer wanted over $600 to replace this. This is just a piece of metal with a spring in it, right? They wanted over $600 to replace this. Mind you, that's where I was gonna go, because look how long it lasts, how many miles it lasts, right? But something told me stop by my parts store first. I stopped by my parts store. Look at what was in that box. You see that? Daco. Exact OEM fit. $100. Well, $116. Yeah. So I'll take that. It's called being smart. And I found the idler pulley. This is the one I took off. And this, I was saying I didn't know if the new one came with the boat. But once I got the new one, then I saw this is how this is fit. It's attached in here, because this right here inside is a bearing. So that's like a sealed bearing on the inside of there. And I guess those are what wear out over time. So couldn't hurt to go ahead and replace it. And this is the new one. So got the parts now. What I'm gonna do is, what I've decided to do is, because when I was at the parts store looking at the old idler pulley that I took off, this I see in the pulley, even though the belt looked good, I said I was going to reuse the same belt, but I can see here, you can see where the belt was burning, where some pieces on there. Yeah, and it's even smelled burnt. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I came to O'Reilly's because I wanted to try the gate belt. I hear everyone talking about how good the gate belt is. It's a good quality belt. So O'Reilly's is the only one that had one in stock. So got my parts, and I'm just gonna go ahead and take that belt off and put a gate belt on. So I'm at O'Reilly's. Let me go in here and get this gate belt. Yeah. So I got my gates belt, and you know what else I went ahead and got? I went back, because earlier when I was at AutoZone, they was like, we got a water pump too. And I was like, nah. I know I did the pressure test and all that, and I know I ain't got no problems with the water pump, but I thought about it. That water pump, they had a recall, and supposedly everybody has issues, or they have issues with their water pumps a lot. But I didn't have, by the grace of God, I didn't have an issue with my first one, but the recall, they replaced it at 150,000 miles, and now it's like over 440,000 miles. So it's almost about 300,000 miles on that water pump. So I was like, you know what? I got all that stuff out. I'm replacing the belt. Why not just go ahead and replace the water pump? So I got a new water pump. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on as well. And then that way, we good to go. New belt, new tensioner, new idler pulley, new water pump. Let me go get me a drain pan and call it a day, baby. But look, God, you know what? The manager told me. He said the dealer is buying parts from them because they can't get parts, certain parts or whatever. And I just shared that. He said they bought 150 filters. The guy at O'Reilly's, he said they just bought 150 filters from them. And you know, it's one thing to buy parts from other companies, like these other part stores and stuff like that, who cater to the, you know, the average day citizens who try to work on their own stuff. It's one thing to buy those parts from them, but then it's a whole nother thing to buy parts from them and still sell it for like 300 or 500% of what you're buying it for, you know, or 200% of what you're buying it for. You know, I told you that tensioner, that simple tensioner, they were trying to get like $662 out of me for that. But I ended up paying it out, and I know Amazon and certain places sell it for like $40. I just didn't want to get that one. But you know, to upsell a product like that to customers that come and buy vehicles from you, and you're doing this, and you're going behind the door buying your parts from local parts stores, you know. So anyway, I got my water pump. Yeah, that I think they wanted like $250 or $300 for the water pump, but got it for like $80 from the parts store, which is probably where they got that from as well. There's a lot of weird things going on with the parts and stuff, but you know, you can't just try to bust people over the head, you know. You're getting it, you're trying to make a profit, like an overkill profit. We all need to make a profit. None of us work for free. You know, you're running a business, you gotta make a profit. But to charge 200 to 600, 200 to 600% on some items, it's just not right. It's just not right. But anyway, that's just my little 2 cents. Let me get on to my work. Okay, so I've already got the top bolt broken loose, and I'm gonna break this bottom bolt loose right there on the water pump. Now, I would not advise you to do what I'm doing. You can drain your coolant first. However, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put a pan down there, and I'm going to put some towels. I've got this bolt broken loose now, so I can finish loosening it by hand. But what I'm going to do is let's see, loosening this top bolt by hand before I take the bottom bolt out. These are the bolts right here, so, and they're not on there that tight. But I'm gonna get some towels. I bought some towels from Harbor Freight, and I'm gonna put a bucket up under there. I don't care about this belt because I'm taking this belt off. As a matter of fact, I can go ahead and get this belt out of the way. I'm gonna replace it. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm gonna replace it, so I'll go to the bottom and pull that belt all the way out of the way so I don't splash fluid all over it. Actually, I'm gonna save it. And then I'm gonna put towels in here, and I'm just gonna quickly pull out that pump and put in a new pump. Hey, this is, move baby, that same belt I put on. You see, it looks really good too. But like I said, the only reason I went ahead and just got the gate because I saw the rubber, the burnt rubber on the other belt. You can still see all the letters. They ain't burnt that bad. Original. But just gonna hold on to this one. I'll put this one up, still good, and I'll see what the gate is working with. So what I actually did, I just unhooked this hose here because as I put that towel there, I was like, you know what, that thing is gonna come gushing out. I got my plugs up there. Yeah, the fluid, I want to minimize as much fluid gushing out for the sake of my plugs. And I'm gonna take a glove, and I'm gonna put a glove over those fluid, over those pieces right there to the that need to be plugged up, just to be on the safe side. But I also went ahead and drained this bucket here. I mean, drained this hose here that's lower than the water pump. So that drained everything out of my reservoir, and it should have drained the engine block as well. And everything lower than that pump should be fine. So I didn't completely drain it, but this is about almost 5 gallons. So anyway, let me get going. I drained it into a bucket up under there, and I kept that filling up, and I put it into a 5-gallon bucket there that's not completely full, so it will minimize the effect when I pull that pump off. I've already got both the top and the bottom water pump bolt removed. I've got my cloth set up. I drained almost 5 gallons out of the hose here. Got that put back together. I washed all down there because that antifreeze can be corrosive. So I'm just hoping not to get fluid everywhere. And some people say, oh, you're just a perfectionist. No, I just don't want to get fluid cooling over here because, you know, it didn't get on these pistons, and I gotta put the belt, the new belt there. I don't want it to get there. So wish me well. I gotta put the phone down so I can really get this old one off and try to get it out of the way and pop the new one in. Let's see how fast I can get it done. Well, I think it was gonna go bad. Look at that old gunk down there. Unless that's from the old one, but I don't know. But yeah, I pried it off and nothing gushed out. Let me get the new one on. I'm trying to rush because I wasted so much. I like to take my time, and it's 5 o'clock, so I got about 3 good hours before the sun start going down. Let me hurry up because I still gotta get the other stuff back on. Well, it goes easier once I get this on. Then I gotta put that belt on, so it's not too bad, but still yet I don't want to be out here for 3 hours. But yeah, that's the water pump. Let me work it out with the old. See, it's down there. Out. I wiped all of that clean. See on top of there, right there in front of the engine block by the pulley, up of a pulley, you see that old wet looking like it's dirt. That could have been slow coolant leak. So it doesn't hurt to do any of this stuff, even though I didn't have a leak. But hey, 300,000 miles, I went ahead and replaced it. What else am I doing? You know what I'm saying? Why just do that? Why just change the tensioner and the idler pulley and then wait for the pump to go out? Be proactive, not reactive. So that means I got another 300,000 miles to go, ain't it? Okay, let me get this new one on. What I had to do to get it on, I had to pull this coolant line right here, just a slight bit, put a little slight pressure on it, just to get this down in there, just like that. But I gotta put the phone down and just slowly get it back down in there. So anyway, got the water pump in, new one in. I've got the new idler pulley in, and before I put that tensioner on, I'm going to get this belt started, because to get this belt around that tensioner with it on is very, very difficult, because it has to slide between the tensioner, and it's very difficult to get it on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the belt on, get it in place, and then I'm going to put it around the tensioner and then bolt the tensioner on, and boom, I don't have to do that. So what I'll do, once I get everything in place, then I can like disconnect it from right up here. I'll disconnect it from right here at the alternator, and then I'll have room to play with it and get the tensioner on. And then once I get the tensioner on, bada boom, bada bing, I'm done. And I just gotta fill it up, put everything back, fill it up with coolant, let it run, and burp the air out of the system, since I drained so much coolant. Let it run, take it for a test drive till it sucks the amount of coolant back in the radiator and the engine block, and then I'll retop the coolant, and I'm done, baby. She's done. Water pump, tensioner ended up leading me to change all that other stuff, idler pulley and the water pump. That's the best route to go. I wasn't going to do all of that initially, as you see earlier in this video that I said, but now it's done. Man, this belt was tight. It wasn't hard getting it in position where it needed to go, like around the pulleys and things like that. Oh, I need to start lifting some heavier weights. But this belt was tight, and I got the wrench resting against the clamp, coolant clamp, like I did last time. But what I had to do, because I was trying to get it onto this alternator, and it was difficult, and so what I had to do was I took it, I loosened it from this water pump here, and I loosened it from around the water pump after I got it in place all over where it was supposed to go to every other pulley on the other side. I started the other side first, and then I went up underneath and got that done and slid it back up to this top one here from the other side. And after I got it around all the pulleys where it was supposed to go, then I tightened down the tensioner and fastened that in place, because I put that on. I waited before I tightened it all the way down to make sure I got it, had the belt on right. And then I was trying to put it on this alternator, but it was too tight, so I loosened it off of the water pump, slid it off of the water pump, put it on the alternator, and then I fought to slide it here because you see this is just smooth, so it was less of me having to work less. I could just kind of press it on, but it was difficult. My arm is still trembling, you know. Now if you're a man, this ain't that difficult for no man, but you know, being a woman, I ain't got that manpower, so it was tight, but I got it on nevertheless. Now all I'm gonna do now is put the vacuum box back on, plug everything back up, plug the fan back up, and then I'm gonna add coolant, and then I'm gonna start it. And while I'm putting away all my tools and stuff, I'll let it run and heat up a bit, and if any coolant sucks out of the reservoir, then I'll add more, and then I'll take it for a spin and top back off with coolant, and she's good to go. I put everything back together, put the fluid in, was letting it run, and it was the alternator. The alternator stopped. It threw me because I didn't know, but it seized up. I should have tested it, but I didn't think anything. However, oh well, I'm glad I cut it off before it damaged anything. So I got to put a new belt on, fighting against time, well, darkness. But I'm gonna go get the new belt, take this alternator off, go get another one, and then put everything back together. You guys can see we're still out here. The reason being, I didn't do a good job of inspecting my alternator pulley. I put everything back together, and the alternator had a bad pulley, and it popped the belt. So I got a new alternator. Nevertheless, all I had to do was reroute the belt, a new belt, and everything seems to be working smooth. So now I've got the coolant airing out so that I can burp all of the air out of the system. But yeah, I didn't check the pulley. Had I spun that alternator pulley really well, once I got it off, I could see where it was going. Oh, I did spin it, and it was spinning, but I don't know, I should have gave it more attention, because once I cranked it up, I saw where it started spinning good, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And then when I got it off, I spun it, and it wasn't spinning like before. So I guess, you know, it was a error that wasn't easy to be caught, but it was bad. When I spun it, it could barely spin. So I should have just changed it anyway, follow my spirit initially, but I didn't. So I'm out here, and I just